Good morning, everyone. Happy Friday. Hope you're doing well. Exciting NBA draft last night. Maybe we'll dive in on a couple questions about sleepers of the draft. I'm quite satisfied with what my New York Knicks did. Hope you all feel good about what your teams did last night. Candy, how's it going?
Hey, Jacob, it's Friday. We've made it to the end of another exciting week. Happy to be here. Happy to hear all the stories, too, about the draft this week.
Oh yeah, we have stories. Two top 10 picks joined us for dinner. Four first rounders in total. It was amazing. Collectors got to play basketball with Obi Toppin yesterday. And of course, we were at the draft when Cade Cunningham, Jalen Green, Evan Mobley, their names were called. Those are superstars of tomorrow. So overall, just super exciting. But obviously, there's a lot to touch on today that is not just draft related, not just kind of what we did IRL this week. So, without further ado, should we just jump into the questions?
We should, and I posted in the Office Hours channel as well, a list of topics that we don't have new updates for this week. I, have been going through the Discord, the social media this week, collecting all of the frequently asked questions and topics. That's what we'll be working on covering today, but there are some of those that we simply don't have updates for. So instead of having people wondering when we're getting to them, I'm just putting it out there up front that we're not covering rakeback, hardcourt, trade tickets, marketplace, a bid system. Maybe Jacob has a little bit about that, but we touched on it last week too, as well as selling unopened max packs on the marketplace and burning and staking. So those are all kind of still on hold. However, things that are not on hold. Let's start with one of the bigger things that we saw this week, Jacob, is the numbers that were on CryptoSlam. So we saw, some concerning numbers on CryptoSlam this week. Can you explain what was going on there? Because I know that the market is something that people are keeping a pretty close eye on.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'm glad to say that it was not an accurate depiction of the actual marketplace activity for the week, but actually had to do with an update to a smart contract. So we have our smart contracts and we work with CryptoSlam and we made an update to our smart contract and they were not looped in. So there was incompatibility with their data and our data. Fortunately, that is getting resolved. And we will aim to have a dev diary soonish that kind of goes into more depth. As you all know, I'm just a basketball fan. I'm not super literate with kind of all the mechanisms of APIs and smart contracts and all that stuff. So I'll leave it to way smarter minds at the company to explain that in further detail in a dev diary whenever we are able to get one out.
Right. So good to know that those numbers were not accurate, but that we're moving forward and we'll get more dev news out here in diaries soonish. What about, we've seen some concerns, and I will say this week has been a little bit more tense than usual. Um, Concerns about the team and how we're prioritizing our focus. And it is currently looking like onboarding new users to the community is more of a priority. And there's questions about stabilizing the market for current and existing collectors as well. So, what do we have to share on that front?
Yeah, we strongly believe that the thing that will stabilize the market over the long term is a great collector experience that allows more new collectors to get comfortable and heavily involved in Top Shot early on. So getting new collectors to understand NFTs, understand Top Shot, understand what they're buying into, um, that's key to a great community, and that levels up our existing community as well. So we are working through a lot of different tactics there, but surely um, we feel like that we're just scratching the surface of all that's still to come. Uh, and I think the iterative changes we're making on the product don't only benefit the new collectors as they're coming in, but will certainly benefit existing collectors as well.
All right, so definitely important to understand the long game here, and having more people in the market will inevitably help the market. What about collector score? And it looks like there are also some other questions that people are talking about collector score in the chat right now, Jacob. I don't know if we want to tag in those as well here, but we've seen a lot of questions this week about collector score and baller status. Baller status kind of having a less prominent role recently and being hard to find on mobile. Do we have updates about the future plans for baller status? What does that look like?
We're still weighing our options. I think when it comes to collector score and baller status and trade tickets, there's a little bit of risk of having too much emphasis on all of them and making the product too complicated. So we want to be thoughtful. We are thinking through a lot of different options for what baller status can look like. In the past, it's been achievement based. So you do X, Y, or Z, and you get those achievements, and your baller status reflects that. But if you were to then sell your moment, your baller status would remain the same because it's all about the achievements you've accomplished. Collector score, of course, is far more dynamic and based on what is actually in your collection on any given day. Uh, so that's kind of where I'm looking at it. But certainly, I think for the long term, uh, baller status is a part of our plans. We're not phasing it out. We just don't have any details to share of kind of what that looks like in the near term.
Right, so that is helpful to understand about the baller status. And there's also questions about utility for moments. And so one of the ways that moments have gained some utility is via collector score and the different ways that that's been implemented during pack drops and access to things. But there's also utility mentioned regarding hardcourt the game, and the community's been speculating on merch. And then, of course, we've had like the IRL experiences. So with those recent experiences that we've had, the Suns promotion and the draft just this week, we've got Quavo and, his quest going on. But, do we have a roadmap for additional utility on kind of a more widespread basis? And any insight to how the team is looking at this?
Sure. So I think utility, that will continue to be a top priority for us, and we've made really nice inroads in the IRL activation space. Though, as you pointed out, Candy, that does not hit a majority of our community at once, right? As there are limited spots for these IRL events. But we are looking into a bunch of different things here, be it exclusive chat rooms once our partnership with Collabland is secured, or once it's implemented. And I would also say like there are plenty of examples of challenges and quests where everyone who participates wins. There's a ton of utility already existing, but figuring out even more utility. I think the finals quests every night of the finals was really awesome to see our community watch the games intently and collect based on performers in those games. So I think all of that will be a part of kind of next season for sure. And I've seen a few hashtags out there around community being a utility, right? Community is utility. I think you'll see that in Discord pretty soon, where based on what you're collecting, gains you access to more chats and healthier chats, frankly. So I'm super excited about that.
Definitely excited about having more utility and more ways to interact with the product and the community for sure. There's comments about gamification as well in the chat, having different ways to interact with the product. And maybe as we're moving forward, learning from what we've done in Series 1 and Series 2. And, that's something that we said last week as well. We touched on noting that these are things that, as we're building a product, like we're still in beta. So having that feedback from the community to see what works, what doesn't, what we can do better moving forward is important. On that note, the ability to pivot quickly is also important, both for startups and the blockchain space. And Dapper has shared and commented on a lot of exciting ideas for future utility and the product. Jacob, can you tell us about the learning curve or kind of the ramp up process for, we have these great ideas, but obviously we're looking at kind of the long-term game. How do we get from, where we were when we were coming up with the ideas to the implementation? Because obviously there's some stuff in the middle instead of like good idea, implementation.
Yeah, everything right now ties back to our top priorities. And that's kind of improving the collector experience and building tools and features that genuinely help all of our collectors. So I think for us, like we saw quests as a major win. We're exploring what leaderboards could potentially look like. I think people are trying to, I think there's a bit of a dissonance maybe between an idea being surfaced and how quickly it can be built. We have some of the world's best engineers, and things take time. And we move really fast. I think like we'd be uh, dishonest to suggest otherwise, right? Like there have been a lot of features built in just the last month or two, and there will continue to be great features built. But some features are heftier lifts than others, and I think for us, what we're looking into is what can we do as far as bringing utility to our collectors without necessarily relying on engineer work. So the Suns activation, you saw the draft activation. We have more activations coming this off season. You might even see something in the next week or so, maybe a couple of things in the next week or so that we're excited about that don't require the engineering work, but our engineers are working tooth and nail. I think the crazy thing is like there was a time not that long ago that you know drops would have to be regularly delayed and postponed, and I think that's what we're like at this point. There's no doubt when we say a drop will happen, the drop happens, and I don't want to say that will forever be the case because I'm sure there will be an outlier kind of situation where it's out of our control, but we're generally in a really strong position with the product getting better and better. Just minor tweaks around the edges are regularly upgrading the collector experience. Now you can see your checklist based on team set. You can collect and better identify moments you need in your collection to complete sets. We've got some really exciting ideas around how we can make the pack page when we announce a new drop even more interactive and engaging. So I'm really excited about all that. And then, of course, things like merch, things like tickets, those are all things that are also on our mind as well. I mean, just this month, right? We had the Quavo Quest. And if you are a fan of Migos, you can get a Quavo signed Atlanta Hawks jersey, or you can get a legendary pack for participating in this quest. Those are things that are already here. A week may feel like a year, but it is only a week, right? And we launched the Quavo Quest this month, and I think there's a little bit of always looking to the next thing, but not to dismiss, like there's plenty of great things still coming, but we're working really hard, and there have been really great things that have been announced.
And speaking of things that have been announced, we had the legendary drop yesterday. We have playoff packs that are being released today. And we announced Series 2 Summer as a set. So, what are we looking at for that? Do we have a timeline? I know people are excited to see what's next and curious about the details surrounding Series 2 Summer.
Yeah. Um, we're looking. I guess I'd like a little bit more clarification around the question, Candy. But I think like we're definitely looking at something in August. We have a lot of really fun surprises in store, and we intend to keep them as surprises until we're more ready to formally announce them. Because I would be kind of, uh, you know, spoiling the surprise if I were to drop those announcements here rather than going the more thorough approach of working with our communications team, working with our PR team, making sure that we're maximizing our announcements for full effect. Um, we will
Will
share.
I was
Sorry,
going to
go
say,
ahead.
will maximizing those announcements include a roadmap or a plan in advance for the Series 2 summer? So that way people know what to expect. The summer starts. We know, you mentioned mid-August, but what will this encompass?
Sure. So Series 2 summer, I think, is a little bit of a different basket. You're going to see a lot of things in the summer series that have no impact on moments that have already been released. We've already talked about how we're going into the archives. You'll see a ton of new players. Um, and I want to be honest to that kind of process internally of kind of letting those announcements come when they're ready. What I will say though is for Series 3, which does have far more kind of impact on the moments and the players already involved on Top Shot, we'll share some guidelines around content limits so collectors can better understand the broad strokes of what to expect as each surprise is revealed. Um, but yeah, I think Series 3, you're going to have a far clearer picture of kind of what a LeBron James roadmap looks like compared to the offseason, the summer series, which is going to introduce a ton of new players, and it doesn't necessarily have as much of a correlation on your existing collection.
All right, so it sounds like Series 2 summer will have kind of a different type of fit within the Top Shot ecosystem.
I think that's
And
fair. And I think, like, just to everyone, I get it. Like, I'm not going to talk about beta here. I'm not going to talk about experimentation. You've heard me talk about all of those things for a while. Um, but I think what I can safely say is in Series 1, we learned a lot, right? And then in Series 2, we learned even more. And those learnings are far more helpful and informative for us as we're mapping out Series 3 than it is for the Series 2 summer, where we're going to learn again, right? It's imperative for us to have a better off-season plan long term, a perfected off-season plan, I should say. And we're not going to get it perfect on first go. I know that. But we will be thoughtful, and we're going to take the learnings from Series 1 and Series 2 and apply them as best as we can to the summer series. But yeah, just want to make that clear that this summer is all about us kind of figuring out a more sustainable long-term off-season path. And I've got a lot of excitement around what we are doing this off-season, but just want to make that explicitly clear that for roadmaps, for player limits, like that's going to be far more visible for Series 3 as it kind of pertains to your existing collection.
all right, and we do have some questions, and I don't know if this information is available, Jacob. I just posted it in the chat for you regarding the Series 2 summer and how those players may interact with the set bonuses, whether it's part of a full team, whether this might have retroactive classifications for the run it back from last summer, which I believe we've already said we're not changing things that already exist, but perhaps you could clarify.
Yeah, I don't have updates for that today. I do know from kind of the internal conversations I've been a part of that there's a strong sentiment around, full team completion across every series. Like that is intended to be very difficult. So I would anticipate that there will be new moments that come that you need to collect in order to complete that. But I don't have full certainty, nor is anything I'm saying here on that front specifically kind of the final decision, to my understanding. Just don't want to dodge the question, you know?
Right. So because those were posted in chat while we're having the conversation here. So I wanted to make sure those were included. But let's talk about the drop yesterday. So there was some interesting happenings there with the finals drop. Specifically, we saw a delayed inventory list. So normally those are posted ahead of time, when we get the pack listings up on the website, but we didn't see one of those even up till the day prior. And then there were some kind of unexpected omissions from the moment list itself. So can you tell us, kind of what the process is with the moment approval and inclusion list? Like, how do things get picked and included, and why were some notably absent?
Yeah, so I think for our team, what's paramount is delivering the best collector experience possible, and uh, while we have a really great editorial team, we work hand in hand with some of the best partners in the world, and there are some instances where we have to make compromises, and I think in this case we found a really great set. We have some of the greatest moments from the last 5 years in the NBA Finals, and I'm very kind of satisfied with the general edition size. I'm very satisfied with the overall planning that went into the legendary drop. Obviously, working with Quavo, having Quavo be kind of the face of the drop and having his genie in the drop, it just goes to show kind of what the future of the metaverse could look like with Top Shot. Every set has its own edition size, and the ranges of possible edition sizes for legendaries is available in a breakdown on our blog. So we're certainly excited. I think uh, most of the legendary drops in Series 2 were priced at $999. So when we looked at the drop price of 800 for this time around, it was very much a 20% discount compared to what the standard was. When the last hollow drop was for $230, that was messaged very clearly as a one-time thing. So I think that's kind of the most I can offer. I'm trying to think if there was anything else you asked there that I didn't touch on.
It does look like we still have people in the chat discussing, the missing players, specifically because the playoff set is supposed to tell the whole story of the playoffs, and then we're missing some of those. And I know that's something that, we are not the sole decision makers for the moment decisions. So that needs to be, I think, reiterated to the community that that's a joint effort.
Yeah, absolutely.
What about the outstanding MGLE challenges and any quests that might be coming up throughout the summer months, the remainder of the summer months?
Yeah, so as far as this one goes, we're waiting for uh, I believe we're going to have our next MGLE challenges announced tomorrow. There was kind of a back and forth of whether those would be quests or challenges. They will be challenges. And yeah, we're conscientiously trying to avoid dropping these on the day of a drop because we've seen the community's displeasure, shall we say, with you know not having equal access at the start of challenge. So that's kind of where we're at there. You will see for sure some new ones coming out soon.
All right, so let's talk about, in addition to challenges and quests, struggling with words, Twitter trivia, similar activations, how winners are selected, because we've had a lot of questions, and I will say kind of even extending that from Twitter to other activations, like quests, showcases, airdrops, things that we do, internal distributions. Can you explain the process here? Because I think that's maybe been the biggest question of the week, how we decide winners.
Yeah, we have an internal randomizer, and that does the randomization of a lot of things, be it, internal trivia. We get usernames from whoever's quote tweeting. We put it into the randomizer. Same thing goes for uh, when we do activations IRL and we're pulling winners. It's all done through our internal systems. And that's kind of the end of it for right now, right? Like there are uh, a lot of brands that do giveaways, and it's important for the community to trust that the giveaways are going fairly. And my hope is that you all can trust that. And with our internal system, that's kind of the path we've been going. We have not had any kind of issues so far.
All right, so we have updates about how we determine winners and manage that process. What about challenges? So in a slightly different train of thought, challenges and the economic impact. So obviously there's short-term boosts to utility as moments are required for challenges, but there's also a lot of feedback because, obviously this isn't the only use for moment, but is definitely something that does have a market effect. So how has the feedback that the community has provided impacted how the team views challenges moving forward?
Yeah, over Series 2 summer, we'll be exploring and looking into additional options, including, and I want to emphasize potentially, the ability for some collectors to score more than one pack and shifting more towards quests with more varied challenges. So lots of different things there. I think when we look at the challenges from the finals legendary drop, there were some interesting kind of thoughts there. Let me just make sure that I am not paraphrasing the economist on our team, but taking it pretty specifically. The idea behind running two challenges for the finals legendary instead of one is that we're able to kind of cut the cost to complete one of the challenges rather significantly by requiring fewer moments, putting it within reach to more collectors, and also rewarding those who want to complete the whole set with an additional reward instead of a second moment minted to the full count of 120. It also gives collectors a second chance at a premium serial number, which a lot of our premier collectors really covet. And then a secondary objective here is it creates a system where a Bucks fan doesn't feel compelled to necessarily collect the Suns plays from the finals and vice versa. Um, so those are important to kind of accomplishing our goal of having collectors collect the moments that they love from the teams they love and players that they love.
Right, so definitely taking feedback from challenges, having some flexibility with quests as well. Those are good. And I guess following up on those last two questions, we've been releasing some short-term plans and blogs. So kind of seeing, what's going on with, the rest of Series 2. I know we'll be expecting some updates, as you said, from the communication side for Series 2 summer. And we'll definitely have more of a framework or roadmap for Series 3. But I guess, is there any other information that you have or insight that you can share about providing these type of details, or what it might look like? Is that going to come in blog form? Is it going to be a set part on the website? Any insight there as we move forward and kind of get roadmaps out for more transparency?
Yeah, I think we kind of touched on this a little earlier, right? We'll be giving high-level guidelines to help people make decisions when it comes to next season. We all know what to expect from the season at the same high level, so we'll have much more specific guidelines for the season start that explains specific expectations in terms of moment scarcity and the framework of the season, how many moments a specific player can have with a cap on it, all that good stuff.
Right. And so with that, um, we've had other questions, Jacob, about supply and planning. We know that, this is something we have no updates on for the Eastern Conference Finals, Western Conference Finals moments being slated to be burned, at some point in the future. But we've also been asked about the other special packs that are unreleased. So I don't want to say unreleased as in people never saw them, but, the additional packs that are held back, such as the gift or cool cats that were in excess of the distribution. So that unreleased supply, because we know that if it was a standard pack drop, there are always some that are held back for customer support, marketing, promo. Those are getting sent out as we do different activations, and those activations bring new customers and collectors to the site. But what do we do with those extra unreleased supply?
Yeah, Candy, I feel like you could just take this one on as you are the one that is primarily handling the extra supply. I don't want to, you know, toss it to you if you prefer me to answer. I'm more than happy to, but I feel like you have a pretty good grasp on that one for sure.
I mean, my policy that I've been adhering to is that anything that was not available as a pack drop and specifically told to the community that it was reserved for promo and distribution is being held. And that's kind of where the question comes in, Jacob, is what do they do when we hold them, aside
Yeah,
from not distributing them?
yeah. So we hold them for customer support. We hold them for community giveaways. Uh, I think too often we are looking at like immediate answers and instant gratification. But the reality is, once we go through that supply of packs we hold, we don't have more inventory from them. So uh, I anticipate that Series 2 packs will have a far more cachet and far more importance to our community 3 years from now than they do right now. So I want to ensure that we have a stockpile of packs for future customers or for future giveaways and events. So all of that applies.
Okay, and so that's, to reiterate, for those kind of standard pack drops that we've had, whether they're common or rare, even the very minimal legendaries that we happen to hold. Those other kind of specific promotion packs are things that we have not been distributing outside of their initial distribution window.
Exactly.
What about, speaking of other ways that moments show up in the economy and the packs, rebound packs? Those are things that we haven't seen in a while. So the community wondered, are those being filtered out? Are there plans to bring them back in the future? What is the deal with rebound packs?
Yeah, I would say that rebound packs are certainly not off the table for Series 3, but we did say that we were going to drastically cut the number of packs that we were doing due to community concerns in Series 2. And we did that, and a large mechanism slash vehicle to do that was through getting rid of rebound packs for a lot of these drops. But I also would like to point out that the playoff packs that are dropping today, some have already dropped. They follow the exact same requirements for the legendary priority queue from yesterday. So that kind of, due to timing and needing the next queue, I think like we were looking at today as kind of a pseudo rebound pack, if you will, where you got in yesterday and you got your collector score up high enough, you're guaranteeing yourself a pack today. So that's kind of where the rationale of why you've seen less rebound packs. I do think next year we can get really creative with what rebound packs look like. They don't necessarily only have to be base set packs. I think they can look much more exciting to some collectors. So stay tuned. I wouldn't say I have any kind of real updates there other than we wouldn't introduce rebound packs as a concept in beta only to say, nope, never again. I think the door's open for more down the road.
Speaking of open for more down the road, tell us about the Cool Cats Master Challenge and, kind of what happens now that Series 2 ends, because this is something that the holders of the Cool Cats set have been wondering about, kind of having the delay. And I know that we're waiting on the third-party integration for Discord, but is there any other details about, what utility this set might have, whether that's, related to Series 2 Summer or, other non-moment type utility? Anything? It might be important there to kind of reiterate why this is an important set to us and kind of the prioritization for this set within the community.
Yeah, I think the group of collectors that completed the Cool Cats Master Challenge, they represent a particular group that's rode a wild roller coaster with us. The Cool Cats Challenge was going on during the peak of Top Shot virality in the winter, and they will play a massive role in kind of helping us learn from kind of the past 6 months or so. And we want to make sure that they feel like they are valued and heard, and we appreciate them continuing in on the Master Challenge as things kind of got crazy. But yeah, I think for us, that's why we're prioritizing them as far as kind of the setbacks or maybe hold up around us not being able to have kind of chat for them and the perks that we already have kind of in our plans. We're waiting on third-party tooling, and we're waiting on kind of the initial rollout, because right now we have a few different ideas on how we initially roll it out, and we want to settle on the right approach to get started here. But I'm certainly looking at an exciting next few months ahead, especially as we make progress toward kind of fulfilling the goal of turning the Cool Cats Master Challenge group, the Nine Lives Lounge, into the Soho House of NBA Top Shot.
So definitely, it's another patience is most definitely required, but we are getting there and have not forgotten about the Cool Cats folks and getting all the things set up. We actually have a question in chat, Jacob. I don't know if we can illuminate a little bit more what the Soho House of Top Shot means.
Yeah, Soho House is an exclusive club. They've got locations all over. And we know that there can only be about 3,000 members in the Nine Lives Lounge, right? We know that to be true just based on how many LaMelo Ball Master Challenge rewards were distributed. So for the collectors on Top Shot that are constantly trying to compare and contrast us to, say, the Bored Ape Yacht Club or CryptoPunks, we are a wholly different product. We have different goals, we have different initiatives, but the Cool Cats Master Challenge reward group, the Nine Lives Lounge, that is inherently a scarce exclusive club that takes you to get into the world of exclusivity within Top Shot. And obviously legendary moments are exclusive, obviously rare moments are exclusive, but as far as kind of a foundational sub community within our larger community, that's our intention for Nine Lives Lounge.
One of the things that you just said, I actually shared a link to a tweet that I had saw earlier in the office hours chat, because you mentioned that we're, as Top Shot, creating a product that's not the same as Punks or the Bored Ape Yacht Club. It's an entirely different vision, and I think this is a tweet you saw as well, Jacob. I don't know if you want to expand on that a little bit as well.
Yeah, I mean, we're in the infancy of NFTs, and I think Alan on our team had a really smart point earlier today that there's nothing wrong with the current NFT market, but NFTs and the phenomenal power of provable digital scarcity and ownership ensures that you know the world is getting unlocked here, and I think that using that technology to ensure that there will never be more than 10,000, or there will never be 10,001 versions of a given avatar is kind of the skim milk of the entire ocean that is what NFTs will be. So we are skating to where the puck is going, so to speak, to take a page out of my Canadian company's book. We're skating to where the puck is going. We are not skating to where the puck is at.
Some good knowledge for sure. Understanding kind of the different value proposition for Top Shot moments versus some of the other NFT projects. And with that, actually, speaking of skating to where the puck is going, Jacob, why don't you tell us about some of the cool things that Top Shot has accomplished in the last month? Because we spent so much time kind of focusing on some of the stress points, and I don't think that we spend as much as we maybe should highlighting the progress that we've made and the strides that we've really made in the community recently.
Yeah, absolutely. I think let me just kind of pull up a list of all of the things that we are excited about here, because we've done a lot, right? So first and foremost, just looking at kind of the last month, right? We had the Phoenix Suns activation. We took 8 lucky collectors, I should say, because some of them had collector scores just above the threshold to be eligible. We took them to Phoenix for Game 5 of the finals. They got to walk on the court the night before the biggest game of the NBA season. They got a full-on tour of the arena, and we had a great time. Then following it up, we flew 8 of our top collectors to New York for the NBA draft, and they got to play basketball with Obi Toppin, and they got to have dinner with 4 first-round picks, including 2 that were drafted in the top 10. We built quests as a feature. We built multi-level drops as a feature to ensure that collectors of all different sizes and shapes are able to get access to premium content as we drop it. We have added new tools to your kind of trying to figure out whether you need to find a specific moment to complete a specific set. We've added features and marketplace filtering to afford that. We've been working really hard behind the scenes to put together a really compelling launch for the Nine Lives Lounge that will have a lot of really fun things happening throughout the year 2021 and beyond. We're prepping a really exciting library of content for the summer. We launched trivia that is keeping our community really engaged and active, and further bridging the gap between maybe the NBA Top Shot collector experience right now, and knowledge of the NBA itself. And we've added writers to our team that are helping kind of reinforce how Top Shot weaves into the narrative of the NBA season. There was a great blog last week around the Milwaukee Bucks, or maybe it was even this week, Milwaukee Bucks championship, and how moments on Top Shot kind of led to that. So a ton of really great progress. I think that that's just a sliver of all the stuff going on, and there's plenty more that we will share when we're ready to share. But yeah, absolutely excited about all of it.
Right. I think those are definitely, exciting things, understanding what it is that's been done even in the span of a month. And knowing that next month there will, I'm sure, be a similar list of things that we can mark as accomplishments and progress forward, and doing as much as we can in the time that we have, knowing that, we are still continually moving forward and taking a lot of the community's feedback and implementing what we can as it makes sense. So with that, Jacob, I don't know if there's anything else that you want to cover today, or things that you've seen scrolling through chat that you think um, need to be addressed, but that's the list of the biggest questions that I have that we're able to provide answers for, to my knowledge so far.
Yeah, I see some questions. I'll touch on a few of these. Series 2 summer moments, from my understanding, will not count towards Series 2 complete sets. Those are entirely different sets. The summer series is a different series than Series 2, even though it does have Series 2 summer in the name. They are different series, and we will be making every moment from Series 2 limited edition when we retire this series. Let's see. We are looking in. Question I see here is, have we discussed a future legendary holder club? I think we're discussing a lot of stuff around kind of rewarding people that collect top-notch stuff. And right now that's manifesting itself as you have more entries for great giveaways and great opportunities. But we'll look into that. I think we're going to exponentially level up. Excuse me. I think we'll exponentially level up the number of activations we do next season. And some of those will be IRL, some of those will be digital. There will be a lot more there for sure. Moving through. Yeah, I see a lot of questions about a specific moment that was not in the set. Just to reiterate, like, our top priority as a team is to work with our partners and ensure that we're meeting their expectations, requirements, and ensuring that us as a team is doing the very best we can to provide an excellent set. So I'll leave it there. It's frankly something that is a tough conversation, but one that, at the end of the day, our job is to serve our community and serve our partners to the best of our ability. And that's kind of where I'll leave that. As far as other stuff, Series 2 summer rug pull current bottleneck moments. I'm not sure I follow the question, but I think it is inevitable if you're trying to get a complete set of a specific team, just like with Run It Backs. You will need to collect moments from other players that will be coming to Top Shot for the first time. And I think it's safe to say, even if there aren't rug pulls around 2013-14 players anytime soon, like frankly ever, I think what you'll see is we're going to have more moments from Dirk Nowitzki on Top Shot. I guarantee you. That's just a fact. And if you were a collector and you thought that the only moment you'd ever see from Dirk was from uh, our beta, like that, there was very little to suggest that. And I'm not calling out Dirk specifically. There are a lot of Hall of Famers that made their debut in the initial run at backs. I think Alan from our team had a really nice kind of thread on this earlier today. It's inevitable that you're going to see more moments from Hall of Famers spanning their careers, right? If Kevin Garnett is a Hall of Famer and won a championship with the Celtics, it wouldn't be honest to an NBA collectible experience if the only moment you can ever get from Kevin Garnett was him on the Brooklyn Nets. So going down that list, I want to just ensure you all know that. Anything else? Let's see. Reading through. To my knowledge, there's no plan to do anything specific around Nikola Jokic's MVP. The context of why we did something specific for LaMelo Ball's Rookie of the Year moment all stemmed from the fact that he was tied to the Cool Cats Master Challenge Award. And by the time that the MGLE Premium Pack drop was scheduled, that was right off the back of the LaMelo Ball Master Challenge wrapping up, and super important for us to not kind of overwhelm one with the other. So we held back on LaMelo out of kind of conscientiousness to those that completed the Master Challenge. Will we ever run it back to the 2019 playoffs? I think eventually, yeah, at some point, I wouldn't be surprised. I think it's also, the opportunities for Top Shot long term are, endless, and saying never is a proposition that in beta I'm particularly against. So, you know, the nevers that you do hear from me are things that we've had long discussions about and are confident that will be nevers, but it's hard to say never in a world that's as evolving as ours. Anything else? I think maybe we'll start talking about the NBA draft a little bit. Let me just make
Tell
sure.
us about that, Jacob.
Yeah, it was amazing. We were in a suite right next to Spike Lee, so that was super cool. And we got to, just interact. Like, what was really fun was that all of the collectors that flew out were big fans of different teams. We had some Jazz fans here. We had some Wizards fans here. We had some Lakers, Sixers, the whole works. So everyone had different kind of approaches and priorities to who they wanted their team to draft. Um, and overall, it was just really awesome to, get to play basketball with some of our collectors, eat dinner with some of our collectors, and just kind of learn more about kind of their perspectives about Top Shot, and learn things that we could do better, things that we could do differently long term. So uh, all of that was just a really special experience for sure. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I want to touch on here. If you haven't yet gotten into the queue or you're in the general queue for later, very excited for you all to get a playoff pack with a guaranteed NBA Finals moment if you're able to get it. I guess the priority queue is wrapped, but if you're getting into the general queue, I wish you luck. And yeah, to reiterate to those still confused, anything that happens in the Series 2 summer will not have an impact on Series 2 collector scores. Let's see. Yeah, I tend to agree with rants in the chat. No one wants a Top Shot moment of me. Though, I had a few nice shots yesterday, but mostly a lot of misses. Definitely rusty. Let's see. Anything else? Got 4 minutes here. And if I don't see anything that we haven't already touched on to a degree, I'm probably just going to use the last 4 minutes to explain why I'm happy with what the New York Knicks did last night. Yeah, anything rakeback related, you can see the post that Candy put up earlier. We don't have updates for you this week.
Put it for a third time.
Yeah, thank you. All right, so I'll close with some takes on the Knicks. It's clear to me after yesterday that the Knicks are poised to do something big this summer, or are looking to do something big this summer. And for us, as I say us as a Knicks fan, drafting 2 first rounders, that eats into your cap space. So what we did was we rolled over our assets. We traded a first rounder to get a future first. We traded back and we got the 25th pick, which is a lower cap hold than the 21st pick. We picked up an additional second rounder. At 25, we took Quentin Grimes, who I'm very, very high on. I think he'll be a starter at some point in his career and will be able to be a 3-and-D guy early. Then in the second round, we traded the 32nd pick for picks 34 and 36. With 34, we drafted a European stash player who I think will be pretty good one day. He's another asset for our cupboard, and he also doesn't eat into our cap space, which means we have more freedom to spend this offseason. And then last but not least, we took Deuce McBride, who, if anyone wants to watch an exciting highlight, Deuce McBride against Cade Cunningham last year. Deuce stole the ball from him, finished the layup, and on the very next play, stole the ball again and had a nice finish. So I think he's going to be a really good defensive point guard and has some really nice free agent or really nice perimeter shooting. I think that's it, Candy. I appreciate all the questions. I think we've got a lot of really exciting stuff in the works. Stay tuned for more announcements. By this time next week, you'll have learned a lot more about some cool things that are going on. So looking forward to that all. And Candy, thanks as always for fielding the questions and helping lead this great conversation.
Thank you, Jacob, for providing a lot of the answers that we've had to commonly discuss topics throughout the week. I know that we did not cover them all, nor can we cover them all, but those are, things that can be addressed in time as well. So this will not be the last office hours. And as we are able to provide more comprehensive answers, those will be provided to the community. Thank you, everyone, for hanging out with us today.
Thank you all. Appreciate it. Have a good one. Take care. Bye-bye.